Hey everybody, it's Matt Michaels here with Sin City Steve on the Vegas Badboyz of Podcasting, and Simon Street and DJ Impact are out this week because it is Father's Day weekend. So we hope they're enjoying their Father's Day. And we have a guest panelist this week, our buddy from Parts Unknown right now, Red
Yeah.
Red.
What's up,
Yeah.
everybody? Yeah.
Excellent. All right, let's get into it. Steve, what do you got going this week for our four-way stop?
All right, man. So MJF and Adam Cole went to a 30-minute time limit draw to kick off Dynamite. Now, obviously, this was an eliminator match, meaning if Cole won, he'd get a title match against MJF. And obviously, they're not done with these two, but this was a good match, told a great story, focused on MJF attacking Adam Cole's head. This was Cole's first high-profile singles match since returning a few weeks ago on Dynamite. There were some head drop spots that I kind of cringed at, to be honest with you. But everything was done extremely well, with time expiring during the final pinfall when Adam Cole finally looked like as if he would be able to get the pinfall victory over MJF. So extremely well done there. And then also, Toni Storm is still your AEW Women's World Champion after defeating Sky Blue with a cloverleaf submission in about 7 minutes. It was absolutely the best Sky Blue match that I've ever seen. It really goes to show just how good Toni Storm is. And she brings everyone in that she's in the ring with and in segments with up a level. So that's just a testament to how great she is. They are definitely building Sky Blue, which I am a fan of. And they even had some, antics on the outside with Mama Blue and getting sprayed with green spray paint. Oh, man. But yeah, nonetheless, really, really interesting dynamic with these two.
There you go. Red, what you got there this week?
I was impressed with the way the Money in the Bank's coming together. I thought on Raw, how they set up Rollins and Balor, how we got Dominic and Cody now set, the men's Money in the Bank's all ready to roll. I like the lineup in that match, just because nobody's has a champ, a former, nobody's world champion, so there's some fresh blood in there. I like the thought of LA Knight maybe winning the whole damn thing. We'll see where they go with it. I'm not convinced that they're going to do that, but It's nice to see him in there for sure. And, even the women's match is shaking out well. We got a couple matches coming up next week. I believe we got Raquel and Trish. And then I believe on next Friday we got Shotzi and Bailey for the spot. So Bailey could possibly lose her spot. I kind of hope she doesn't, but I think it's better to have her in that match instead of having Shotzi replaced. But we'll see where they go with it. I'm liking where they're going with this pay-per-view. The hot crowd in London for sure. Looking forward to that. So the aesthetics there for sure.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting too that there's all this talk about Wembley, right? And selling out Wembley. Okay, that's great. You're going to do that when you've never been there before and you have interest from your international wrestling fans. But they're running the O2 Arena. So it's not like the WWE is running, chips and biscuits down the street,
Right.
It is going to be an interesting atmosphere there, especially after what we saw in Puerto Rico and wherever the hell they just were. Saudi, that's right.
Oh yeah.
I forget now where the hell they're going.
They're all over the place.
Company. The Money in the Bank stuff is shaping out to be good. And we're definitely seeing what the Bloodline story is now shaping up to be, which I think everyone felt like it was pointing that way. But it's also going to be interesting to see if there isn't more tension within the two teams themselves, leading to possible four-way. And again, long-term storytelling. It's so funny that people go, well, they don't tell stories, they don't do long term, they don't have continuity. They don't have this or that in their storytelling. And then they start doing this bloodline thing, and now it's,
yeah,
oh my God.
it's unbelievable, man. It's great. That last segment on SmackDown, holy shit. Good God. So good. So fucking good.
And you could tell for once they didn't have to pump in crowd reaction.
Right? Yeah, not at all. Man, the crowd was electric at that show.
And I think that truly you did see that there was that sense that you didn't know what the actual path was going to be chosen. So it just lines up to be really nice in terms of that storytelling. And here we are going into what's just under 2 weeks now till the pay-per-view. So premium live event, because you pay to view it. You just have to subscribe to Cock.
Yeah, I wonder where they're going to go with it after Money in the Bank, like SummerSlam. Do we have Jimmy against Roman? Do we have Jay against Roman? I mean, where are they going to go? You know,
could you possibly do a 4-way? You
could. You very, very well could.
Yeah, or does it go longer to make the 4-way at Mania? You know, it's
right.
It's interesting because of that. You really don't know, and I think it's funny because fans want it both ways, right? They want what they see as being the right answer, but then they also want clarity on what it's going to be. So it's like you should show us what this is, but at the same time, if you show us what it is, we're not going to like what that is. We're going to want something else. And that's the trickiest thing, I think, in the internet era here, of figuring out how you please the fans, but you also don't give it away so that it's not just feeding what the fans want all the time. So it's going to be interesting to see. All right, here we go to Too Sweet for the Week. All right, Jed, what do you got for Too Sweet this week?
Well, I hate to be a dead horse, but that Bloodline segment was fucking money. Man, I was at the edge of my seat. Like, you could tell something was going to go down with Jay. Him and Han back and forth, and then that super kick, man. Boom. That was awesome. Straight up. I got a couple other ones, too. Kind of to throw it back to Impact Wrestling from Thursday. I didn't expect this to happen, but I'm glad it did. Nick Aldis turned heel on Alex Shelley to set up their match at Slammiversary. I thought the dynamic's much better now. They set it up nice in the beginning of the show where Aldis was talking about how Alex Shelley kind of mentored him back in the Magnus days of TNA when he came in, kind of green as grass, and Shelley kind of leaned on him a little bit. So they established that kind of relationship, and then at the end of the show, boom, there came the turn. So I thought that was pretty well done by Impact standards. Also, the Sting and Jericho segment on Dynamite. Hey, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know in what form that's going to be. Is it going to be a one-on-one match? Are we doing Sammy and Jericho against Darby and Sting? Maybe we're going to get both. Where, when, I don't know, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, some interesting stuff going on for sure. Especially, Impact doesn't get all that love. Aldis is one of those guys who's only isn't it funny that it's like he went to NWA, so he had a very, very small fan base that knew what he was doing. Now he's probably added about 500 more people.
Right? Not much. Right? Yeah.
So it's like you kind of forget how good the guy is, and he's definitely one of the better guys in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
And much better as a heel, too, I think.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Steve, what do you got?
All right, man. So the Young Bucks and Hangman Page had one hell of a main event match against the Blackpool Combat Club to close out Dynamite. The Elite won the match in about 11 minutes, but the story of the match was that it got off to a fast start and just did not let up until the end. I do have to say, of anyone on the Blackpool Combat Club squad, yes, of course it's going to be Yuta that it happens to, but poor Wheeler Yuta. The dude he got pinned in the match, but he got hit with a triple power bomb, BTE trigger, buckshot lariat. It was great, but the post match was just as good, dare I say.
No kidding.
And that is another piece too sweet. After the match, BCC beat down the Elite. Then Eddie Kingston's music hit. He ran down to a monster pop and mega chants. Kingston cleaned house until Takeshita came down to absolutely thunderous boos. Holy shit, this guy is absolutely over as a mega heel. Who would have thought just a couple of months ago that he would have this extreme character transfer? He cleaned house until Kenny Omega came out. Had a mega pop for him. Omega took out Takeshita before being ambushed by Will fucking Ospreay. Ospreay looked like $1 million. He hit the Stormbreaker and 2 hidden blades. The last one to the face of Omega, which was a rare kind of an occurrence there. Ospreay left Omega lying as Dynamite faded to black. He even had Bryan Danielson step off of commentary to give Ospreay a standing ovation. So pretty awesome stuff there. Too sweet all around.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll talk about my experience with AEW in just a little bit, and
I'm sure you will.
No, it's going to actually surprise you, because of what this is. It's totally, you wouldn't expect this at all. And when I think of Too Sweet, I've got to say this week what they're doing with NXT has got me very interested in the direction they're going. There's certain people that you're going on the main roster. Why are they fucking there? Ali, perfect example. Dana Brooke, perfect example. So they have this brilliant idea, bring them into NXT. And holy shit, it actually kind of works, right?
Yeah, man.
It's surprising that, and then okay, defending the NXT or the Raw champion or World Championship on NXT. Okay, you could argue the point of it, which is like arguing why are they defending AAA's belt on AEW? Okay, that's the equivalent, to be honest. Belts are belts, and it makes no sense. But if you want to argue talent and having it established in your own company and going talent versus talent, that's a different thing. Personally, bring Braun Breaker up to challenge him on Raw. Makes more sense.
Right.
But the electricity of the announcement that Seth is going to wrestle in that building was huge. I think the fans are definitely winning down there, especially these fans who've been going there for years, because you get a chance now to watch kind of how this thing is developing. Again, this is like the 3rd or 4th incarnation of what they've done with this brand. And it's interesting because you'd think at some point the brand was totally dead if you listen to, the naysayers at every stop. But what's really surprising is that it seems as if that idea of leveraging this show to then up that media deal is actually going to freaking pay off. Apparently the media deal, ended this week in terms of the contract negotiations. So now that period is over, they can freely start negotiating for the next year. I think it's 2024 that it's actually up. And there's a lot of ideas out there of who's interested, and that fabulous, interesting rumor that Disney would acquire it and put it on FX and put all WWE programming on FX, which would be very interesting. And hey, no one said it, but why couldn't you put SmackDown on ABC?
Well, yeah, it's a Disney property. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because everyone was talking to ESPN, but then there's talk that ESPN is going to fold into just ESPN Plus and just have it on streaming. So if you do acquire those rights, why not use one of your network program or network stations to really just boost your ratings?
Right.
Let's face it, it's just free money. So
yeah.
If Fox doesn't come through on a deal, well, see now, and that's the thing too that's funny about it. Fox, is part of Disney, but not television, not that Fox television.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So what a way to for Disney to kind of stick it to Fox. Like, all right, we couldn't have your TV because of, I think, the FCC ordinance. You can't.
I believe so.
Yeah. So why not do that? It's going to be interesting to see what goes on. Okay, it's time for WTF. All right, Steve. What the fuck?
All right. Can anybody tell me, not just on this show, but anybody listening or watching, and this is a rhetorical question, obviously, but why should I give a flying fuck about Wardlow?
Right.
At this point, I mean, he's been booked like absolute fucking dog shit. Double or Nothing 2022, not too far in the distant past, right? He was mega over.
Mm-hmm.
There were chants for him the entire match. Being at that show in 2022, when they were doing the video packages, we got the Wardlow Goldberg type chants all the way through the match. He was absolutely over.
Mm-hmm.
And then now his TNT title reign has been overshadowed by MJF doing, his title win was overshadowed by MJF doing his little, you could call it a temper tantrum. You could call it whatever you wanted. But fact is, he's never recovered from that. The guy desperately needs a gimmick change or something. And of all things, I was under this belief before Collision happened. And I'll just leave it at that.
Shit,
as
right,
far as
right.
he's concerned.
Yep.
Because we're going to talk about that later. So stay tuned. Elsewhere, Sting, Darby, Orange Cassidy, and Keith Lee versus the Mogul Affiliates. This match was absolutely filled with random what the fuck type chaos. I mean, it certainly kept my attention. This match actually ends up in this segment for a couple of reasons. The babyface team. Talk about hitting the randomizer from a character select screen. I don't know how logically those four, Sting and Darby, essentially it's father-son at this point. We've established that.
Grandfather.
Pairing them with Orange Cassidy and Keith Lee.
Speaking of grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Grandpa Lee. You've got the guy that doesn't want to be a wrestler, who is a very good wrestler. And then the father-son duo. Yeah, makes sense. I've officially given up on us ever getting an end to this Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee feud, by the way. It's just never going to happen.
I know, what the fuck, man? That's so weird.
Can this Mark Briscoe, Jeff Jarrett bullshit finally end? I know that some things are happening next week on Dynamite. Please, God, can we just get some finality? What the fuck?
Yeah, that stuff with Aubrey was cringy, man. That 6-person tag. Ay, 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 ay.
Oh, but she would probably tell you that she looked phenomenal and she was fucking a star. And I bet
No.
she's going to want more matches.
I hope not.
Yeah, well, just go back and watch her body language when she went to put on the figure 4 at the end. It just shouted that we're going to see her more in the ring, and it fucking is.
No, thank you. Yeah.
And by the way, too, why the fuck is Briscoe's dad in a ring at all?
Absolutely.
No shit.
Papa Briscoe does not belong in a ring.
Such a weird idea.
Karen Jarrett makes just a little bit of sense because of the fact that she's been a valet for a long time. Okay, fine. And maybe Kurt taught her the angle lock at some point or something, right? But yeah, that thing was. Let's throw Jay Lethal and Jay Briscoe in this fucking fiasco. It's like what kind of payback is that? Or Mark, I'm sorry. But what kind of respect is that for those two guys who are great when you're just dealing with that stuff? Whatever. Jed, what do you got, man?
Well, just to piggyback, I was going to talk a little bit about that multi-man tag with Sting. There was a moment in that match where Sting, I think it was one of the Gates of Agony guys, they were interacting. Wow. I mean, it was like such a clusterfuck of a mess. I don't know what was going on. It was just a total disaster, at least in that part of the match. Few other things, rolling back to NXT, just a few like what the fucks. Dabba-Kato and Axiom and Scripps. Boy, the dynamic was so weird in that match. You got the heel trying to fight off two baby faces. It just didn't work for me. I don't think any
baby faces win.
Yeah, it was weird, man. I was like, who's benefiting here? Where's the end game on that? I just didn't see the dynamic working at all with that. Also, what are they doing with Cora Jade? I like the idea that they're pushing Thea Hale. I think that's a good move. But what are they doing with Cora Jade? She's just kind of like totally lost in transition here.
You know where this is leading, I think, because Thea's not going to get much of a push past the match, right?
Right.
So
yep.
Stratton's going to end up winning. Eventually, what we're going to see is Stratton's going face. And
I can see that.
The number one bad guy. So
I almost wonder if they're going to put Cora with Braun Breaker, like as a
That's exactly what I was thinking.
They should really think about that.
They should and release the videotape.
Oh, there you go. Yes. Perfect way to promote. Yes. I can get down with that.
All right. So my what the fuck is for AEW, but not AEW itself. It's Cox Cable. What the fuck, Cox Cable? You decide to have an area outage on Wednesday at starting at 6 p.m. ish, somewhere around there.
Oh man.
And therefore, everything that was supposed to record during that time frame couldn't record because it wasn't that the television was out. It was that the DVR recordings were having the issues.
Oh, wow.
So not knowing that, I could have watched live, but therefore, you all of a sudden go, wait a minute, what's going on? This didn't record. This didn't record. I mean, I have no idea who the last chefs chosen for MasterChef are now. Thank you. And they were representing the South this week in this North versus South versus East versus West this season. Come on, man. It just, it's frustrating to no end. And I think that brings up a bigger issue. And that is, if you can conglomerate companies now, if you can have all these companies where you couldn't have before merging eating each other in the entertainment industry, then guess what it's time for? It's time for this exclusive cable shit to end.
Yes.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And cable is a dying thing anyway. So why not allow either full absorption by one cable company of all the other ones, right? And just have one big cable company because it's going to collapse anyway. Or just fucking allow people to, have the choice between a Cox, a Carter, a Charter, a Warner, whatever, because it's just ridiculous. And the problem is that you have nowhere else to turn. Oh, sure, we can go to Dish, and get locked into 3 years right now for one price. But does anyone ever?
Right.
Like, I don't know anyone who's ever had that.
And it's terrible anyway. I had DirecTV, and half of the time the satellite thing would be fucking around because of weather and shit
that's
like
true.
that.
It's true. And luckily DirecTV itself in LA was great because the weather was constant, right?
Sure.
Except for a few times. But what happened was AT&T bought DirecTV. And wouldn't you know it, that everything they did, price-wise, package-wise, that they could do for you as an independent company, all stopped. And the price just became, extremely high. So that's it. All your choice now is to jump to either Dish TV or DirecTV. And of course you can, just go to streaming, which is fine. But
YouTube TV is where it's at.
For sure, man. YouTube TV, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with it.
That's the thing. And but one issue still, I have to say, that I don't like is that I still got to get my internet through someone.
Oh yeah, right. Which rolls back to the cable companies typically. Yep. So
yeah, it's a vicious cycle, and
for sure.
Unfortunately, that allowed me not to watch any AEW Dynamite this week because it's just you already have your time consumed, and you put aside your time for a DVR of the show. And I do it for Raw, I do it for SmackDown. I'm going to watch everything on DVR because I'm not going to sit through 50 hours of wrestling every week.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Don't blame you.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Look out. All right, Red Jed, what are you going to look out for?
I'll just say it right now. I'm probably the biggest New Japan mark around these neck of the woods. So I'm really looking forward to Forbidden Door. I'm not too... I like the first two matches, obviously, they announced. The Danielson Okada, the matches, the world title matches. I could go back and forth with it a little bit, but I'm really looking forward to see how the rest of this card shakes out this week. Obviously, last night in Collision, they really didn't do anything to set anything up for Forbidden Door that I saw. So it's going to be Dynamite and Collision next week to finish off this card. And there's a lot of guys, a lot of big talents, Naito, Tomohiro Ishii, Jon Moxley, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of guys that don't have a placement on this show yet. And from what I've read, pretty much the whole roster of New Japan is wide open to come in. So I'm expecting some big moves on the match placements this week with that pay-per-view. And if it's anything like last year, it ended up being one of my favorite pay-per-views I've ever been to, period. Steve and I went to it last year, and it was a fucking banger, man. I'll tell you, the crowd was there, the atmosphere was there, the in-ring was there, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Where is it coming from this year?
Toronto, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and they're doing Collision, I think, the night before there as well.
So of course they are, because they haven't learned shit about shooting stuff pay-per-view before your payper-view. Do it the night after in the same town, never before. I just don't. Whatever.
It's a different deal. I know. I remember when they had in Minneapolis when they had Full Gear, and we had a Dynamite and a Rampage taping. It was a little bit different for sure. You lose that crowd a little bit.
Yeah, and we got killed here in Vegas. They got hammered, and and you want to complain about, well, you're showing just the hard camera side, blah blah blah, and it's like, that doesn't matter. That's just the internet. That's just the talk. The honest truth is, go look at the fucking ticket numbers. 5,000 less tickets sold is a lot of tickets, and that just says you're starting to burn out your wear by doing that.
Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, they've upped their ticket prices, which has not helped at all either, I don't think. Exactly. So it's like a double whammy effect, Yeah,
well, cocaine has gone up this year.
I guess so.
All right, Steve, what do you have to look out for?
Obviously, Jed, you mentioned Forbidden Door. Yeah, I will say this. With the Jack Perry Sonata match, give it a chance. Give it a shot. More so, dare I say, for the post-match. Give me that Jack Perry heel turn. Yes, that's what I'm looking forward to. Have him get an appearance change, play up his father's Hollywood ties. Hell, have him brought to the ring by Anna Jay.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're a real-life item. Why not put them together in storyline as well?
Right.
Let's go one further. If they're spiraling Sammy Guevara out of the JAS, would it benefit Jack Perry, who's terrible on the mic, to be partnered up or at least a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society as part of that new gimmick?
There you go.
I think that he could take a lot from Jericho and learn from Jericho. So yeah, I would be looking forward to that. And then I know that I might be. I'm not in the minority here. I had to take a look around at who else was on the panel with this, but I am looking forward to that Sting and Jericho confrontation. I marked out.
Me too.
When they stood, across the ring from one another. Yeah. And I did have to point out the extremely high lift in Jericho's boots, complete with the purple, the jewel encrusted heels.
Yeah,
it made me fucking laugh. But just seeing Jericho and Sting finally standing across the ring from one another, that was a mark out moment for me, and I am looking forward to their inevitable confrontation. I mean, they're two justifiable Hall of Famers. They've never met in the ring,
which is crazy. I mean,
looking forward to that.
Wow, who would have thought that it would take them this long to get there? But here they are.
Yeah. At the same time, Bruno Sammartino and The Rock never faced each other. So, and I don't know if I would have wanted to see that at the time. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. What is that match? Is it 5 minutes of nostalgia, or is it 15 minutes of just, can we just have it 5 minutes of nostalgia? You know what I'm saying?
Let's split the difference. Have 10 minutes. Have a 5 minutes of solid work and 5 minutes of shenanigans. I'm cool with that. That's cool. They can add different smoke and mirrors, different gimmicks to it. That's fine.
Yeah,
it just needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's the execution. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, could do like a street fight type of scenario. Maybe protect Sting a little bit that way. I don't know.
Well, and protect Jericho too.
And Jericho for sure.
Why not? Chris is just at this point, just like, he's doing a lot more of that type of stuff too. So, I think I'm looking forward to seeing these next 2 weeks of NXT and what they do with these, pay-per-view style type shows they're doing for the next 2 weeks. You're going to see some interesting stuff with the guys working in. We will see Baron Corbin go against what's his face, the champion.
Carmelo.
Carmelo. Yeah. So, and that's going to be interesting to see. One of the good things about this is that we get to see the testing ground of if those guys are ready to mix in with these veterans. NXT has been at that 2.0 branding, really, guys going against each other who have maybe indie experience or very little national exposure and get it built up through the 2.0 brand. So now to see them kind of mixing in some more mature talent, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's go to Best in Show. All right, Steve, Best in Show.
AEW Dynamite. I know it's deja vu, but this week's episode legitimately was one of the better episodes of Dynamite that they've done in quite some time. From beginning to end, it was solid. There was a little something for everyone on the show, which, quite frankly, is pro wrestling done right. You can say what you will about this time of the year with AEW catering strictly to hardcore fans with Forbidden Door, as we mentioned last week. But the fact is, when you do a show that has something for everyone on it, it's a better show overall, and it will bring in those casual viewers, which, quite frankly, they need to figure out what they can do to bring in those viewers again.
All right. What do you got, Jed?
Same, man. I have to say this week's Dynamite, for the front end and the back end of that show, the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes of Dynamite was just like one of the best start and end points to the show I think I've seen in a long time. AEW usually hangs their hats on having a kind of a hot opener and a pretty good main event. You're always kind of almost guaranteed that. And this took it to a whole new level, I thought, with the first part and the last part of the show. The middle end of everything, that hour in between, was very excellent as well. There was some definite strong points. We talked a little bit about that multi-man tag. There was a little bit of issue with that, but otherwise, I really didn't see much lull in the show generally. But yeah, that 30-minute match to start out was hot, and then a really fierce main event, and then there was wild run-ins at the end, just boom, 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 boom. Made my head spin a little bit, but it was a good head spin. So I was all for Dynamite this week.
It's nice to have your head spin in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Exactly.
I'll have to say that SmackDown, I want to give it a SmackDown for just that final segment.
Yeah.
You had a weak build of what is Jay going to do? And usually that ends up being a total letdown.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden they pulled the trigger and gave you an answer.
It was
So,
awesome.
Yeah, man. It's like 2.5 years in the making there. I mean, that was a big fucking deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and going into London with that is going to be, something that is very, it's one of those important markers in storytelling, because like we all said, not a single one of us knows where this is going.
Yeah.
Which makes it actually good.
Yeah.
And for those people who are just like, well, Roman doesn't need a title, or he doesn't show up on TV, or blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. When you grew up as a wrestling fan in the 80s, the whole idea was you never saw Hulk Hogan on free TV. You saw him on a Saturday night's main event, which was a big deal, and then you saw him on the pay-per-view. And there were only one pay-per-views for the first couple of years. One.
Right.
So you had to go to see him if he came to your town once or twice a year. It was different. It was a different way. And that anticipation, I think that we got so conditioned by Bischoff into just this crash booking shit of, anything can happen. And, oh my God, you got to see this and blah, blah, blah. And look, the finish. Well, there is no finish because there's 90 people in the ring. And everything WCW he did that made the WWE then had to change their shit to counteract that. It made wrestling more elevated, more high profile, and worked perfect for that time period. but it also left us in a real stagnant hole of people for years saying, oh, well, it's the same shit. They do the same shit. They do the same shit. And that now in turn led to the animosity between AEW and WWE fans, right? The ones who are strictly just fans of either or.
The tribalists, yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, hey, man, there is room for this kind of thing. And you can see it in this kind of storytelling. Yeah, you might be sick that the guy has the title, but the guy couldn't walk onto a screen with the damn patch that says 1,000 days without this type of storytelling. And it's something you're not used to. And it's something no one had the balls to do this long. And even look, I mean, even though Jade took her time off, and that's why, you know, they gave her the loss, you couldn't go 60 matches without giving her a loss. So to have someone as a champion for 1,000 days, and look, Bianca Belair, right?
Yeah, she had a good run.
Long fucking run.
Yeah.
And that was like half of, under half of what Roman.
Oh shit!
Crazy. Yeah.
So it's great to see that sometimes, you know, just taking that time, and you are literally building Solo Sikoa to become a fucking superstar, and the Usos have never been better, and now you have value in each of them.
Mm-hmm.
So did you accomplish something? Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah.
And it's wonderful to see that kind of thing being done, instead of having, you know, that well, it's John Cena, he's just gonna win. Well, it's Triple H, he's just gonna win. I'm tired of him having the belt, blah blah blah. Yeah, we saw that for, you know, 15 years. Now that is kind of out of the way, and you have to open your mind that, yeah, you're sick of seeing him have the belt. Isn't that the point?
In the chase, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just used to seeing that, and I'll nail it down to one point in wrestling history that I still am so, I think this ruined wrestling, is Lex Luger beating Hulk Hogan for the title in WCW on Nitro for no fucking reason.
Yeah, it was out of the blue, wasn't it? Because then they had a match like the next week.
Yeah,
at Hog Wild.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Hogan got the belt back within 10 days or whatever.
Yeah, there was no point to it. Right,
and it was just because it was that pull the ratings pull, because oh my god, anything can happen. This guy can win the belt, and it's like. That kind of shit is what changed that whole aspect of how you know, that whole, oh my God, we could see a title change. We could see a title change. And maybe this guy has a chance. And it's like, why don't we go back to that kind of step off? You know, that's the whole thing. That's why I didn't like the MJF versus all three of those guys. Why? Because you had three fucking feuds you just burned in one fucking, I just beat them all. Why
Absolutely.
not? Why not? That's 9 months of programming right there. That's 3 different programs you could have had. So, but that's going to be it there. Red Jed, you got a little bit of a following. Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube on Red Jed's Wrestling Rants. So I do, or try to do, a daily rant every day of the week. I have themed rants. So one, for instance, every Friday I do one called Versus, which is like a head-to-head look at Impact against Ring of Honor, where I kind of compare their quarter hours against each other and kind of determine who wins every week. So come on in, check it out. Wrestling Rants, baby.
There you go. Hey. All right. If you are tuning in, we are recorded, but we are going to be starting 3 count here on the stream pretty shortly. So you can check that out. Still getting out that live stream tonight. So definitely thank you for tuning in. If you're listening on the podcast, on your favorite podcast app, make sure you tune in to 3 count as well. And as DJ Impact would say, happy wrestling, everybody.